There are seasons in life when everything feels dry, when prayers seem unanswered, when doors remain closed, when the path ahead looks empty and unfamiliar. That season is called the wilderness. The wilderness is not just a physical place, it is an emotional place. It is the season of isolation, the season of confusion, the season where you feel forgotten. But what if I told you you are not alone in your wilderness? There are angels in your wilderness. When you feel abandoned, heaven is active. When you feel weak, strength is being prepared. When you feel lost, direction is being aligned. The wilderness is not punishment. It is preparation. It is the place where distractions are removed. It is where character is built. It is where faith is strengthened. The wilderness strips away what you thought you needed so you can discover what you truly carry inside. Many people quit in the wilderness because they misunderstand. They think the silence means absence. They think that the delay means denial. But sometimes silence means God is working behind the scenes. Angels don't always appear with wings. Sometimes they show up as unexpected help, a timely message, a stranger's kindness, a door that opens at the perfect moment, a strength that rises inside you when you thought you had none left. In your darkest moment, something unseen is fighting for you. The wilderness tests your belief. It tests your patience. It tests your commitment, but it also reveals your resilience. You discover who you really are when everything comfortable is removed. The wilderness is where you learn to depend on more than your own strength. When you can't trace the path, you trust the guide. When you can't see the provision, you trust the provider. When you can't feel the support, you trust the unseen support system working on your behalf. Sometimes the wilderness is necessary because comfort can make you weak. Growth requires stretching. Strength requires resistance. Elevation requires endurance. Angels in your wilderness are not there to remove every challenge. They are there to sustain you through it. You may be walking alone physically, but spiritually you are surrounded. That closed door protected you. That delay prepared you. That rejection redirected you. What feels like isolation is often divine protection. What feels like delay is often divine timing. What feels like abandonment is often hidden support. The wilderness teaches you discipline. It teaches you focus. It teaches you to hear clearly. Noise is removed so clarity can enter. The distractions are removed so destiny can be shaped. You are not forgotten. You are being formed. Every tear in the wilderness waters the next season of growth. Every lonely night strengthens your inner voice. Every challenge builds spiritual muscles you didn't know you had. And when you come out of this wilderness, you will not come out the same. You will come out stronger. You will come out wiser. You will come out clearer. You will come out fearless because angels were with you the entire time. The wilderness is temporary. The growth is permanent. The struggle is seasonal. The strength is lasting. The wilderness is not a sentence handed down to you because you failed. It is not a prison designed to break you. It is a training ground designed to build you. Too often, when life becomes quiet, difficult, or uncomfortable, we immediately assume we did something wrong. We think the struggle is proof of rejection. We interpret delay as disapproval, but the wilderness is not punishment. It is preparation for something your current strength cannot yet sustain. Preparation rarely feels comfortable. It stretches you. It exposes your weaknesses. It confronts your impatience. In the wilderness, you are stripped of familiar comforts so you can discover your true capacity. The noise fades. The applause disappears. The shortcuts vanish. What remains is you, your thoughts, your discipline, your faith, your resilience. Punishment focuses on pain. Preparation focuses on purpose. When you are being punished, the goal is correction through consequence. When you are being prepared, the goal is elevation through refinement. And refinement requires fire. Gold is not punished by heat, it is purified by it. Muscles are not punished by resistance, they are strengthened by it. Character is not punished by trials, it is shaped by them. The wilderness reveals what comfort concealed. In seasons of ease, you may never discover your true endurance. In seasons of abundance, you may never learn gratitude. In seasons of noise, you may never hear your inner voice clearly. The wilderness removes distractions so destiny can be developed. Preparation often feels like isolation because growth is personal. Not everyone can walk with you in this season. Some relationships fall away, some opportunities close, some environments shift, but that does not mean you are abandoned. It means you are being repositioned. Before elevation comes separation. The wilderness trains you in ways success never could. It teaches patience when nothing moves quickly. It teaches discipline when motivation fades. It teaches faith when evidence is invisible. It teaches you to keep going without applause. It strengthens your foundation so that when success arrives, you can sustain it instead of being overwhelmed by it. If you were elevated without preparation, you might collapse under pressure. If doors opened before you were ready, you might sabotage what you prayed for. The wilderness ensures that when your opportunity comes, your mindset, character, and resilience are strong enough to handle it. Preparation also changes your perspective. In the wilderness, you begin to see clearly what truly matters. Ego weakens. Gratitude grows. Dependence on external validation fades. You begin to build from the inside out rather than the outside in. You stop chasing quick rewards and start building lasting strength. Sometimes the wilderness feels unfair because you compare your journey to others. You see people advancing while you are waiting. You see doors opening for them while yours remain closed. But you cannot compare preparation seasons. What you are being prepared for may require deeper endurance, sharper wisdom, stronger faith. The wilderness is customized training. It targets the exact areas that need strengthening. It exposes the fears you must conquer. It highlights the habits you must break. It reveals the beliefs you must upgrade. It is not random, it is intentional. Even the silence has purpose. Silence forces you to confront your own thoughts. It removes the distractions that kept you from hearing your deeper calling. In silence, clarity is born. In stillness, direction becomes clearer. In isolation, identity is solidified. Preparation also builds humility. It reminds you that growth is a process. It teaches you to value progress over perfection. It shows you that strength is developed step by step, not overnight. The wilderness slows you down so you can build correctly. When you understand that the wilderness is preparation, your mindset shifts. Instead of asking, why is this happening to me? You begin to ask, what hate is this developing in me? Instead of resisting the season, you begin to learn from it. Instead of quitting, you endure with intention. Every challenge in this season is sharpening you. Every delay is aligning you. Every closed door is redirecting you. Every lonely night is strengthening your inner voice. Every obstacle is building resilience you will need later. The wilderness is not the end of your story. It is the workshop where your next level is being constructed. It is the classroom where your future leadership is being trained. It is the gym where your spiritual and emotional muscles are being built. You are not being punished. You are being prepared for capacity you do not yet see. A silence can be one of the most uncomfortable experiences in any wilderness season. When you pray and hear nothing back, when you ask for direction and receive no clear answer, when you expect movement but everything feels still, silence can feel like abandonment. It can feel like being ignored. It can make you question whether anyone is listening at all. But silence does not mean absence. Just because you cannot hear movement does not mean nothing is moving. Just because you cannot see progress does not mean progress is not unfolding. Some of the most powerful transformations happen quietly, beneath the surface, beyond your awareness. Think about a seed planted in the ground. The soil covers it. There is no visible growth at first. If you judge the process by what you could see, you might assume nothing is happening. But underground, roots are stretching, foundations are forming, strength is developing. The silence above ground hides intense activity below it. In the same way, silence in your life often means deep roots are forming, patience is being cultivated, character is stabilizing. Wisdom is increasing. Your foundation is being strengthened so that when growth becomes visible, it will be able to stand. We often associate noise with productivity. We equate visible movement with progress, but construction does not always begin with walls rising. It begins with digging foundations. Foundations are laid quietly. They are buried. They are unseen, yet they determine how high the structure can rise. Silence is often the sound of foundation work. When you don't receive immediate answers, it does not mean your request was denied. It may mean timing is being aligned. It may mean circumstances are shifting behind the scenes. It may mean protection is at work in ways you cannot perceive. Sometimes silence protects you from information you are not ready to handle. Sometimes it prevents you from acting prematurely. If every detail were revealed too soon, you might rush the process. You might interfere with alignment. You might step into something before you are prepared to sustain it. Silence forces you to trust beyond evidence. When everything is loud and obvious, trust is easy. But when there is no confirmation, no reassurance, no visible sign, that is where deeper trust is developed. Silence refines your faith. It strengthens your inner conviction. It teaches you to rely on belief rather than immediate results. There are moments when it feels like doors are not opening, like opportunities are not appearing, like breakthroughs are not coming. But while you wait, unseen connections are forming, conversations are happening that you are unaware of. Circumstances are shifting slowly in your favor. Delays are aligning you with better outcomes. Behind closed doors, preparation is taking place. A silence also invites introspection. When external noise fades, you are left with your thoughts. You are confronted with your fears. You are challenged to confront doubt. And in that process, you grow, you mature, you gain clarity about who you are and what truly matters. The absence of external confirmation pushes you to develop internal confidence. You stop relying on constant validation. You stop depending on applause. You begin to move with quiet assurance instead of loud approval. That transformation cannot happen in noise. It requires silence. Silence is not empty. It is active. Just because something is not visible does not mean it is not intentional. A builder may step away from a visible project, but that does not mean the project is abandoned. It may mean resources are being gathered. Plans are being adjusted. Reinforcements are being prepared. Your life works the same way. When you feel like nothing is happening, unseen preparation is often accelerating. The silence may be strengthening your patience. The silence may be protecting you from premature success. The silence may be aligning details too complex for you to orchestrate. The silence may be teaching you endurance. The silence may be shaping your perspective. In noise, you can become distracted. In silence, you become focused. When there are no immediate answers, you begin to search deeper. You begin to reflect. You begin to refine your intentions. Silence removes superficial desires and reveals genuine purpose. It can feel uncomfortable because it removes certainty. But certainty is not always what builds strength. Sometimes uncertainty stretches you into growth. It challenges you to move forward even when you cannot see the full path. Unseen work is often the most critical work. A sculptor spends hours chiseling details that may not be noticeable from a distance, but those small refinements create the final masterpiece. In the same way, small internal adjustments are shaping you into someone capable of carrying greater responsibility, greater influence, greater success. Silence is not rejection. Silence is not neglect. Silence is not abandonment. It is often preparation operating at a level you cannot yet perceive. Isolation is one of the hardest parts of the wilderness. It feels uncomfortable. It feels unnatural. You may find yourself separated from people once leaned on. Invitations decrease. Conversations change. Support seems quieter. The crowd thins out. And in that thinning, you begin to feel alone. But isolation is not always rejection. Sometimes it is refinement. Isolation removes external noise so internal strength can develop. When you are constantly surrounded by opinions, expectations, and distractions, it is difficult to hear your own thoughts clearly. It is difficult to understand your true desires. It is difficult to recognize your authentic identity. Isolation creates space for clarity. In isolation, you meet yourself. You confront your fears without distraction. You face your doubts without someone else speaking over them. You examine your habits, your mindset, your beliefs. You begin to see where you are strong and where you need growth. That self-awareness is powerful. It cannot develop fully in constant company. Inner strength is not built in crowds. It is built in quiet battles no one sees. When no one is applauding you, but you keep going, that builds discipline. When no one is checking on you, but you remain consistent, that builds responsibility. When no one is encouraging you, but you encourage yourself, that builds resilience. Isolation forces you to become self-motivated. It shifts your focus from external validation to internal conviction. You stop moving just because others expect it. You begin moving because you believe in it. Clarity grows in isolation because distractions fade. When you are constantly busy, constantly social, constantly stimulated, you may avoid thinking deeply. But in isolation, you cannot escape your thoughts. You are forced to reflect. You are forced to evaluate your direction. You are forced to ask yourself difficult questions. What do I truly, who am I becoming? What needs to change? Those questions shape your future. Isolation also strengthens emotional endurance. When you learn to sit with discomfort without immediately escaping it, you grow stronger. You realize that loneliness will not destroy you. Silence will not break you. Stillness will not erase you. You discover that you are capable of standing alone. The standing alone builds confidence that cannot be shaken by crowds. When you know you can survive isolation, you are no longer desperate for approval. You are no longer afraid of losing people who misunderstand you. You are no longer controlled by the fear of being left out. You gain independence that stabilizes your decisions. Clarity comes when comparison fades. In isolation, you are not constantly measuring yourself against others. You are not competing with someone else's timeline. You begin focusing on your own growth, your own journey, your own pace. Isolation simplifies your priorities. It reveals who truly matters. It shows you which relationships are supportive and which were merely convenient. It exposes where you were overextending yourself. It highlights areas where you were seeking validation instead of purpose. In isolation, your voice becomes stronger. You begin trusting your instincts. You begin relying on your judgment. You begin developing discernment. The ability to recognize what aligns with your purpose and what distracts from it. Isolation also builds spiritual and mental endurance. When external support feels limited, you dig deeper internally. You pray differently. You think more intentionally. You strengthen your mindset. You build habits that sustain you without constant encouragement. The wilderness often isolates you before it elevates you. Because if you cannot stand alone, you cannot lead others. If you cannot hear your own voice, you cannot confidently speak. If you cannot trust yourself, you will constantly depend on external reassurance. Isolation is where leaders are shaped. It is where strength is tested. It is where discipline becomes consistent. It is where emotional maturity develops. It is where you learn that your peace does not depend on constant noise or attention. Clarity emerges when you separate from chaos. When you step back from the crowd, you can see the bigger picture. You can identify the patterns that were holding you back. You can recognize opportunities that were hidden in distraction. Isolation sharpens your focus. It removes unnecessary commitments. It teaches you to value quality over quantity in relationships, in goals, in decisions. It may feel lonely at first. It may feel unfair. But isolation is not emptiness. It is construction happening internally. Your strength is increasing. Your focus is sharpening. Your awareness is deepening. Your resilience is solidifying. Your confidence is stabilizing. The wilderness isolates you not to weaken you, but to make you unshakable. One of the hidden purposes of the wilderness is simplification. When you enter a wilderness season, many things that once filled your time, energy, and attention begin to fall away. Activities slow down. Social circles shrink. Noise decreases. What once felt busy becomes quiet. At first, this feels uncomfortable. You may interpret as loss. You may feel like life is becoming smaller. But what has really happened is refinement. The wilderness removes distractions so your focus can sharpen. Distractions are not always negative things. Sometimes they are good things that are simply not essential. Constant social activity, endless scrolling, overcommitting to please others, pursuing too many goals at once, saying yes to everything out of fear of missing out. These things scatter your energy. When energy is scattered, progress is slow. The wilderness pulls you away from excessive commitments. It limits access to noise. It forces you to confront what truly matters. When options decrease, clarity increases. When the distractions fade, priorities become obvious. Focus is power. When your attention is concentrated on one direction instead of 10, your progress accelerates. But concentration requires separation. You cannot build something significant while constantly shifting your attention. The wilderness creates boundaries around your energy. In quieter seasons, you begin to notice where you were wasting time. You see patterns of procrastination. You recognize habits that diluted your discipline. You realize how often you sought entertainment to avoid deeper work. The wilderness exposes these patterns. Without constant external stimulation, you are faced with your goals directly. You can no longer hide behind business. You are given space to think strategically, to plan intentionally, to refine your craft without interruption. Sharpening focus also means learning to say no. In the wilderness, you discover that not every opportunity deserves your energy. Not every invitation aligns with your direction. Not every conversation benefits your growth. Focus requires boundaries, and boundaries require courage. When distractions are removed, your vision becomes clearer. You begin to see the difference between urgent and important. You understand that quick rewards are not always lasting rewards. You become more intentional about how you spend your time. You protect your mental space. Distractions often keep you comfortable. They give you the illusion of productivity without meaningful progress. You may feel busy all day, but accomplish little that truly advances your purpose. The wilderness interrupts that cycle. It slows you down enough to build deliberately. It teaches you depth over speed. It replaces scattered effort with concentrated discipline. It encourages mastery instead of multitasking. Focus also strengthens confidence. When you consistently dedicate time to developing one area, your skill grows, your understanding deepens. Your results improve. That steady progress builds belief in yourself. The wilderness strips away external applause so you can focus on internal growth. You stop chasing recognition and start chasing excellence. Excellence thrives in focus. When distractions are reduced, you also become more sensitive to your inner voice. You notice your instincts more clearly. You recognize which thoughts uplift you and which drain you. You become selective about what you allow into your mind. Focus requires guarding your thoughts. If your mind is constantly filled with comparison, negativity, or fear, your direction becomes distorted. The wilderness helps you filter what influences you. It sharpens your discernment. Sometimes distractions come in the form of relationships that pull you away from your calling. In quieter seasons, those relationships either strengthen or fade. You see who truly supports your growth and who distracts from it. The wilderness doesn't remove everything. It removes what is unnecessary for your next level. When focus sharpens, productivity increases. You waste less time debating decisions. You move with clarity instead of confusion. You act with intention instead of impulse. Sharpened focus also builds endurance. When you are committed to a clear vision, and temporary discomfort does not easily shake you, you understand what you are building. You know why you are sacrificing. Distraction divides energy. Focus multiplies. In the wilderness, you are being trained to concentrate your strength in one direction, to align your thoughts, actions, and habits with your purpose, to eliminate what weakens your progress. What once felt like loss of activity becomes gain of clarity. What once felt emptiness becomes space for strategy. What once felt like isolation becomes concentration. The wilderness narrows your path so you can walk it with precision. Rejection is one of the most painful experiences in the wilderness. It feels personal. It feels final. It feels like a door slammed shut in your face. Whether it's a job you didn't get, a relationship that ended, an opportunity that slipped away, or a dream that didn't unfold the way you expected, rejection can shake your confidence, makes you question your worth. It makes you question your ability. It makes you question your direction. But rejection is not always a verdict on your value. Sometimes it is a redirection towards something better aligned with your purpose. Rejection closes one path so you don't settle for less than what you were meant to walk into. When you are rejected, it feels like loss. But sometimes you are not losing something meant for you. You are being prevented from attaching yourself to something that would limit you. Not every opportunity that excites you is designed to sustain you. Not every relationship that feels comfortable is meant to elevate you. Rejection can be protection in disguise. There are rooms you beg to enter that would have shrunk your potential. There are partnerships you wished had worked that would have drained your energy. There are positions you wanted that would have boxed you into something smaller than your calling. You don't always see the redirection immediately. In the moment, it feels like humiliation or disappointment, but redirection rarely announces itself clearly. It simply shifts your path quietly. Rejection forces you to pivot. It pushes you to explore new directions you may have ignored. It challenges you to develop skills you didn't know you needed. It exposes areas where growth is required. It builds resilience because you learn to stand up again after being turned away. Without rejection, you might cling to comfort. You might stay in spaces where you are tolerated but not valued. You might remain in environments that cap your growth. Rejection disrupts complacency. Sometimes rejection reveals misalignment. It shows you that you were trying to force something that did not naturally fit. When something truly aligns with you, there is peace, there is sustainable growth. When something is misaligned, there is constant strain. Rejection removes strain. It releases you from forcing doors that were never meant to open. It frees you from trying to convince people of your worth. It teaches you that your value is not dependent on someone else's acceptance. Rejection also strengthens self-awareness. When something doesn't work out, you are given an opportunity to reflect. What can you improve? What did you learn? What direction feels more authentic? That reflection sharpens your judgment for future opportunities. Redirection often leads you to discover strengths you would not have explored otherwise. Maybe you didn't get the job you wanted, so you built your own opportunity. Maybe a relationship ended, so you learned to value yourself more deeply. Maybe a partnership dissolved, so you discovered independence you didn't know you had. Rejection awakens potential. It forces you to step out of dependency and into ownership. Instead of waiting to be chosen, you begin choosing yourself. Instead of waiting for validation, you start building confidence internally. Not every no is a closed future. Some no answers are steering wheels. They turn you slightly in a new direction that leads to bigger impact. They move you away from environments that would have confined you. They guide you towards spaces where your gifts are appreciated, not minimized. Rejection also refines your resilience. Each time you face it and keep going, your emotional strength increases. You become less afraid of hearing no. You become bolder. You take bigger risks because you understand that rejection will not destroy you. The wilderness uses rejection to detach you from limited thinking. When one path closes, you are forced to imagine alternatives. You become creative. You become resourceful. You begin to see that your future is not tied to a single opportunity. Rejection does not define you. It redirects you. It shifts your focus. It sharpens your determination. It deepens your confidence. It strengthens your independence. And often, when you finally step into the place you were truly meant to be, you look back at that rejection with gratitude. Because if that door had opened, you would never have discovered the greater one waiting ahead. Rejection may feel like an ending, but in many cases, it is simply a rerouting towards something more aligned with who you are becoming. Delays are one of the most frustrating parts of any wilderness season. You have the vision, you have the desire, you have the plan. You are ready to move, yet nothing seems to be moving with you. Doors stay closed. Responses don't come. Opportunities stall. Time stretches longer than you expected. And in that waiting, doubt begins to whisper, maybe it's not meant for me. Maybe I missed my chance. Maybe I'm being overlooked. But delays are not always denial. So sometimes delays are alignment. What feels like stagnation may actually be strategic positioning. What feels like being held back may actually be protection. Timing matters more than we realize. Something can be right for you but wrong for right now. If certain doors had opened earlier, you might not have been ready to walk through them with wisdom. If certain opportunities had come sooner, you might not have had the maturity to sustain them. If certain relationships had progressed faster, you might not have recognized red flags that later saved you. Delay strengthens capacity. When you are forced to wait, you build patience. Patience is not passive. It is controlled strength. It is the ability to remain steady while nothing appears to be changed. It develops endurance that quick success never produces. Delays also expose your true motivation. When results don't come immediately, you discover whether you are chasing purpose or just applause. If you continue working when recognition is absent, your foundation becomes authentic. Alignment requires many moving parts, not just your readiness. There are conversations happening you cannot hear. There are circumstances shifting beyond your control. There are details being arranged in places you cannot see. What looks like inactivity from your perspective may actually be coordination at a higher level. Think about construction. Before a building rises, materials must arrive. Permits must be approved. Measurements must be exact. Foundations must cure properly. If the process is rushed, the structure becomes unstable. In the same way, delays ensure stability. They prevent premature elevation. They slow you down long enough to correct weak areas. They give you time to refine skills, adjust your mindset, and strengthen your discipline. Sometimes delays are protection from incomplete versions of what you desire. You may think you want something immediately, but the version available now may not be the best version. Waiting allows something better to develop. Delays also deepen gratitude. When you receive something after waiting for it, you value it differently. You respect the process that brought you there. You handle it carefully because you remember the season of longing. There is a difference between being stuck and being positioned. Being stuck feels hopeless. Being positioned requires patience. When you are positioned, you are not abandoned. You are strategically placed. You are exactly where growth is happening, even if progress feels slow. Delays test your consistency. Can you keep preparing when there is no guarantee? Can you keep believing when results are invisible? Can you keep refining your craft when recognition is absent? That consistency builds character. Sometimes delays redirect you entirely. While you are waiting for one door, another door appears that you would have missed if the first had opened immediately. Delay shifts your perspective. It expands your options. It reveals paths you were too focused to see before. Delays also teach surrender, not surrendering your dreams, but surrendering your timeline. You begin to understand that control is limited. You focus on what you can manage, your preparation, your attitude, your effort, and release what you cannot force. In the wilderness, delay feels heavy because you measure progress by speed. But growth is not always visible in real time. Roots grow slowly before branches expand rapidly. Alignment takes precision. One small shift in timing can change everything. One conversation at the right moment can open multiple doors. One opportunity aligned with your maturity can elevate you further than 10 rushed opportunities combined. If everything happened exactly when you demanded it, you might miss the bigger picture. Delay ensures that when the moment comes, you are not only ready, the environment is ready too. Delays refine desire. They separate impatience from true calling. If your commitment fades when waiting becomes uncomfortable, perhaps it was not purpose. Perhaps it was impulse. But if you continue despite delay, your conviction strengthens. Waiting seasons are not empty seasons. They are training grounds for endurance. They are classrooms for patience. They are refining rooms for discipline. They are protection zones against premature collapse. Delays may stretch you, but they are stretching you into alignment, aligning your mindset, your character, your opportunities, and your timing. What feels late may actually be precise. Growth is often romanticized. People celebrate the results, the success, the strength, the breakthrough. But they rarely talk about the discomfort required to get there. Real growth is not soft. It stretches you beyond what feels natural. It demands endurance when quitting would be easier. In the wilderness, growth is not optional. It is necessary. Discomfort is the signal that expansion is happening. When muscles grow, they first experience strain. When skills improve, they first go through awkwardness. When mindset shifts, it first challenges old beliefs. Growth disrupts comfort zones because comfort zones are limited spaces. If you remain comfortable, you remain unchanged. The wilderness introduces challenges that force you to evolve. It pushes you into unfamiliar territory. It places responsibilities on you that feel heavier than before. It asks you to handle pressure without breaking. At first, discomfort feels like something is wrong. You may interpret it as a sign to retreat. But often discomfort is a sign that you are moving forward. Endurance is the bridge between where you are and who you are becoming. Without endurance, growth stops halfway. You begin the process, but when it becomes difficult, you withdraw. The wilderness teaches you to stay when it's hard, to remain consistent when motivation fades, to keep building when results are slow. Endurance strengthens discipline. Motivation is emotional. It rises and falls. Discipline is steady. The wilderness trains discipline by removing constant excitement. It forces you to show up even when you don't feel inspired. It teaches you that progress depends on consistency, not mood. Discomfort also exposes weaknesses that need strengthening. You discover where you lack patience, where your confidence is fragile, where your habits are inconsistent. That exposure may feel uncomfortable, but awareness is the first step toward improvement. Growth requires confrontation. You must confront limiting beliefs. You must confront unhealthy patterns. You must confront fears you've been avoiding. The wilderness does not allow you to ignore these things. It surfaces them so they can be addressed. Endurance develops emotional maturity. When you continue moving forward despite criticism, setbacks, or delays, your resilience deepens. You stop reacting impulsively. You start responding thoughtfully. Pressure refines your character. The wilderness stretches your capacity. It increases your ability to handle responsibility. It increases your tolerance for stress. It increases your patience for long-term goals. What once overwhelmed you becomes manageable because your endurance has expanded. Discomfort teaches humility. It reminds you that growth is a process. It shows you that mastery requires repetition. It keeps you grounded and unaware that improvement never stops. When growth feels uncomfortable, it's often because you are shedding old versions of yourself, old habits, old mindsets, old dependencies. Letting go of what is familiar can feel unsettling, even if what you are moving toward is better. Endurance gives you the strength to release what no longer serves you. In the wilderness, there will be days when progress seems invisible, days when the effort feels heavier than the reward. Days when doubt whispers louder than hope. Those are the days endurance matters most. Endurance is built in repetition. You wake up and try again. You fail and adjust. You fall and stand back up. You feel tired and continue anyway. Each repetition strengthens your mental and emotional muscles. Growth also requires delayed gratification. You sacrifice short-term comfort for long-term success. You choose discipline over distraction. You choose focus over instant pleasure. That choice, repeated consistently, builds endurance. Discomfort stretches your thinking. It forces you to consider new strategies. It challenges assumptions. It pushes you to learn, to adapt, to evolve. Without discomfort, potential remains dormant. The wilderness is uncomfortable because it is transformative. It disrupts patterns that kept you small. It challenges beliefs that limited you. It strengthens abilities that were underdeveloped. Endurance ensures that transformation completes its work. When you endure, you prove to yourself that difficulty does not define you. You realize that you are stronger than the pressure. You discover that setbacks do not end your story. They shape it. Growth is not instant. It is layered. It builds gradually through sustained effort, through repeated commitment, through quiet perseverance. Discomfort signals expansion. Endurance sustains the process, and the wilderness becomes the environment where both are developed intensely within you.